What's going on, everybody? I was looking on my YouTube earlier today, and I realized it's been like 8 months, I think, since I've done a live stream. So I figured I'd come on tonight and talk about the new Player 2 Stratocaster. I just got this yesterday from Sweetwater. I have a full video coming on this guitar and comparing it to this guitar behind me, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But I figured we'd do kind of like a first look live stream hang. I've heard a lot of good things about this Player 2 series, and I figured I'd try and check one out. So I reached out to Sweetwater, asked them to send me this guitar and this guitar, which is an American Pro 2 Strat, in a lovely shell pink. Look at that, nice. And yeah, take a look at them tonight. So if you're just joining in live, thanks everyone. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I always like to know where people are watching the live stream from in the chat. We're also going to make this a Q&A, just sort of a chill Friday evening live hang here. And we're going to talk guitars. So let me know where you're watching from. Also, we are running a sale on the Fretboard Fundamentals Bare Bones Guitar Theory course. You can get 60% off that course. Link is in the description and will be showing up in the chat. That course is a short, like 60-minute long guitar theory course. If you're someone who has been wanting to go deeper in guitar theory and learn about this kind of stuff, but you don't want to, dive too deep or spend too much time on it, this course is for you. Bare Bones Guitar Theory, everything you need to know, nothing you don't, 60% off. Link is in the chat and in the description, and I greatly appreciate it. This is how I make my living, is by making these guitar courses. And yeah, so cool. San Diego, Germany, New York, Grand Island, Florida, PA, Denver. RJ, what's up, man? Like the wide angle. Dude, this is a 14 millimeter lens. I'm sitting about like maybe 2.5 feet away from the lens right now. But yeah, Dean, south of Chicago. So I'm actually going to be in Chicago next week for Fretboard Summit. I'm very excited. My first time going to Fretboard Summit. And yeah, couldn't be more stoked. The lineup looks amazing. And I love Chicago. Chicago is one of my favorite cities in America. And my wife, Tilly, who's in the chat moderating, it's her first time going to Chicago. So very excited. This is like the perfect time of year to be in Chicago. Yeah, 14 millimeters, man. So the rig tonight basically is the guitar just going straight into the front of my Axe Effects. And I've got a profile pulled up on my Axe Effects that is basically like my AC20 Deluxe. I made this preset years ago, and I just keep coming back to it. It's like my starter preset because I've got this cool sort of like 80s stereo chorus thing going on. But then I can just patch up and get a more straight ahead, just amp sort of sound. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna be doing tonight. Forgot to start my recording here. So yeah, let me see here. Any questions about the Player 2 series? So I got this yesterday, showed up in the mail. I've watched a few other YouTubers' videos on this, mainly John Cordy. John's an amazing player, a guy whose opinion I really respect on this stuff. He has bought a few of these guitars. I think he actually bought this one, this Strat, in the same colorway. He bought the Telly, and interestingly, his Strat showed up with some issues. Now, again, I got this from Sweetwater. I did not pay for this guitar or the American Pro 2. Sweetwater did send these out to me, so disclaimer there. They aren't sponsoring this live stream, but they are going to be sponsoring the long form video that comes from this live stream. So, but I've been going over this guitar. It just came out of the box yesterday, and I have not found any QC issues with it whatsoever. Now, if you watch John's video, he actually had quite a few fit and finish issues, like some cracking in the neck joint here, the neck pocket, and the finish, which has happened to me before. It can happen on these Fender style guitars. And he actually had some separation in the finish from the skunk stripe on on the back of the neck, but I have not noticed any issues with this guitar whatsoever. Now, part of that is because it came from Sweetwater, and Sweetwater does a whole like inspection process, as any reputable dealer will do. I mean, that's not unique to Sweetwater, but overall, man, fit and finish on this guitar is really good. So if you have watched any of my other videos on Fender stuff in the past where I have showed or played or talked about the Player series, the Player 1 series, I do not like those guitars. I genuinely think the Player 1 series are... So, okay, let me back up. Those 5 levels of videos, have you ever seen those that I've done where I get basically 5 different price levels of the same model of guitar and shoot them out? Every time I've done Fender, there's always been a Player series in that lineup. I've done one on the Strat, the Tele, and the Jazzmaster. And in every one of those videos, the Player series, the Player 1, has been my dead last pick because it represents the least value to me. Like, they just didn't feel good. They needed work, and they were too expensive, I think, for what they were. And compared to a lot of the Squire stuff, like the Classic Vibe series, for example, I just always thought your money was better spent either on the Squire, save some money, buy the Squire, and take the money that you saved and put it in a good set of pickups and a decent setup, maybe some nicer electronics, and you've got a better guitar than the Player 1, or save up the extra money and go for the next level up of American Fender. Now, the reason I wanted to check out the Player 2 was because I really disliked the Player 1 series, and supposedly they've made some improvements here, and I wanted to see if it made any difference. So, yeah. Oh, this is live. I thought this was a premiere episode. Hey, Rhett. Yeah, there will be a full episode coming, like a regular episode on this guitar coming. Tyler, appreciate the top chat, man. Thank you. Appreciate your content. Have a great weekend. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Okay, so what have they changed about these guitars? It's pretty well documented online at this point, but rolled fingerboard edges, big deal, big win for Fender there. That is really interesting for something I'll get to in a second. They've gone to a rosewood fingerboard instead of the, is it Indian Laurel or Palfaro? I think it was Indian Laurel on the, or no, it was Palfaro on the Player 1 series, right? Which I think is a much needed change. It looks better. It feels better under your hands. Rosewood is what needs to be on a guitar like this. They've upgraded the bridge. They've gone to the synchronized tremolo system, the 2-point synchronized tremolo, which is another really nice upgrade. And they've gone to Alnico 5 magnets. And I think they've upgraded the tuners and other things as well. But when I first got this guitar out of the box yesterday and played it, yeah, Palfaro, that's right. The first thing I noticed when I sat down to play it was the way the neck felt. The Player 1 series to me felt very, very cheap, in large part because of the fretwork and the fingerboard edges. Now, a long time ago, I did a video with my friend Ben Calhoun, and where we basically custom shopped a Player series Stratocaster. He put a ton of work into it, and we upgraded the electronics and all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that he spent a lot of time doing was rolling the fingerboard edges. And I do think it made a massive difference. And this is something that you can do yourself at home. Like you can take, the edge of a screwdriver or a razor blade, and you can wear down and roll the edges of a fingerboard. And if you haven't experienced that, it is one of the best ways to improve the feel of your guitar instantly, especially if you're playing something that's a little bit more affordable where they wouldn't have done that from the factory. Like, one of the things I really love about vintage guitars or guitars that have been played in and really worn in, or even relic guitars, is the rolled fingerboard. It just makes it feel so much more comfortable in your hands. It's a subtle thing, and you might not think it's that big of a difference, but it really is, man. So that's the first thing I noticed was the rolled fingerboard edges. And then overall, the setup out of the box was pretty good. I have not set these guitars up. These are as they came from Sweetwater. Haven't even taken the plastics off or anything. Yeah, so It came set up well, it's intonated well, it's staying in tune relatively well. But the next thing I noticed that was a big step up over the Player One is the fretwork. I think they have done a good job in spending more time getting the fretwork on these Mexican Fenders dialed in. What's been interesting is a lot of the quality control issues, you know, people love to jump all over Gibson online for QC issues, and I think some of it is deserved. But for a long time, I think Fender has had some of the same QC issues that I just don't see people talking about. Like, I've had guitars show up from Fender before with gouges in the fingerboard and some clear issues that, you know, in my mind shouldn't have left the factory that way. But with this guitar, like I just said, I have not been able to find any issues with it whatsoever. There's not a single scratch on it. There's no finish cracking. There's nothing. And the fretwork from the factory is actually very, very good. And the frets, I'm not sure if they changed the material over the Player One series, but one of the things I really disliked about the Player One series is the frets themselves felt gritty. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you play a cheap guitar, the frets, when you're doing a vibrato, the string is rubbing against the fret and it feels like sandpaper. It's like that scratchy kind of thing. These feel not quite like stainless frets, but they just feel so much better. So props to Fender. It really feels to me like they are putting more effort into the build quality and the quality control, especially of this Mexican line. It does feel like a return to form a little bit for the Mexican line of guitars. So yeah, fit and finish is great. Fretwork is great. Rolled fingerboard edges are great. Honestly, I have no complaints about this guitar whatsoever, except for one thing. But let's see. Any questions so far? Are the frets well polished? They are. They are. The fretwork is a marked improvement over the Player One series. Now, one thing I don't like is the tremolo arm here. So on the American Pro series, the tremolo has the, you know that little spring, that tiny little black spring that you always tend to lose that goes under the tremolo arm when you thread the tremolo arm into the tremolo to keep it from wobbling. This doesn't come with that. So there is some play in the tremolo arm, which does bug me. I don't know if we can pick this up on camera, but there's like a little bit of slop in the tremolo arm there, which doesn't feel great. Like when you're trying to do a nice, like smooth, subtle vibrato, it just doesn't feel great. So that's an easy fix. You get one of those little black springs and throw it in there. Call it a day. Frankie says, I think they really hit their stride in Mexico with the Ventera series. Yeah, it does seem to me like they're putting more effort into the build quality of these things. And I think they are doing a better job of actually listening to the customer base. And I say that because of the rolled fingerboard edges. This is something that I have talked about a lot. I know a lot of other people here on YouTube and the internet have talked about a lot. Like rolling the fingerboard edges is such a subtle thing to do, but it makes a huge difference in the feel of the guitar. And the fact that they did that, to me, says that they're doing a better job of actually listening to what we want. Nolan says, for what it's worth, my Player 2 feels noticeably better than the Squires I've had. Okay, are the pickups hot? So, the pickups. These are the Alnico 5 magnet single coils. They are okay. They're okay. They're not bad. Not bad at all. They'll do the Strat thing. Like that bridge is nice and balanced. It's not too harsh sounding to me, which is one of my least favorite things about a Strat. Especially if I get back here on the bridge, like that sounds nice. Middle position sounds nice, which this is one of my favorite sounds on a Strat, is the middle position. I still think people are sleeping on the middle position, man. It's a nice sound. Oh, 1 second. Gotta get the chat back up here so I can see it. There we go. Neck. So overall, like, it's a good sounding Strat, but these pickups pale in comparison to what comes in this guitar, which we'll talk about in a second. So here's the 4th position. Overall, these Alnico 5 pickups to me are a little just anemic sounding. Chamber dash body. No, this is the solid, just the alder body. I looked at trying to get one of the chambered ones from Sweetwater, but I think they're still on pre-order at this time. Maybe I'll try it when they show up, but tune a bit. Am I out of tune? Not that bad. David, what's up, man? Good to see you back here in the chat. Second position. Which I'll admit, okay, I'm not a big Strat guy. And of all of the Strat sounds, the 2 and 4 position are my least favorite sounds. These are, when I'm playing a Strat, I almost never play the 2 and 4. I don't know why. I just much prefer, I think the middle position is really like the secret weapon of the Strat, you know? David says, to me, big thing for Player 2 series is the return of Rosewood, and that's about all. Not crazy excited. Well, I see where you're coming from, but I actually think that there's a few other things that on paper don't really sound that exciting, like the rolled fingerboard edges, but are a big upgrade. Like, having played the Player 1 series in the Strat and the Tele and in the Jazzmaster, and now playing this, the difference is absolutely night and day between the two of them. Like, this is a much, much better guitar than the Player 1 series. And it does make me feel differently about the Player 1. Had I had this in the lineup of the 5 levels of Strat video that I shot like a year and a half ago or whenever that was, this would have definitely ranked much higher. Actually, probably near the top of that rating. Whereas the Player 1 series was the bottom of the barrel. I did not like the Player 1 series at all. So on paper, these upgrades seem kind of benign, right? Oh, rolled fingerboard edges. Oh, they, put Rosewood back on it, And initially, that's what I thought too. When I saw them announce this, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But then I heard some people talking about it and talking about how good it is. And I thought, okay, well, I should probably try this thing out. And I am glad that I did, because it is it's a big step up. David says, despite Fender's claims, Palfero never felt or sounded as good as Rosewood. I completely agree. I think the fretboard material matters. It matters from a sound perspective. We did a video on this a few months ago. The fretboard material does change the sound of your guitar. It just does, okay? I know this gets into the whole tone wood argument. I know this gets people fired up online. It's like, oh, it's just a way to sell guitars. It's not, man. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen that video, we took a Strat and we took 3 different necks and put them on the same guitar with the same strings. I did not change the strings. I didn't change the setup. Only thing that changed was the neck with the fretboard material. And Chris, my production assistant, and I, when we were making that video, as soon as we went from the stock Rosewood neck on that Strat and we put the maple neck on, I was sitting down, we were getting set up to take the shot, and I went like this. Just an unplugged. And both of us stopped and looked at each other and went, it's brighter. It sounds brighter. Unplugged. in the room, the guitar sounded snappier and brighter. And then when you plugged it into the amp and you played it, the guitar was snappier and brighter. And when you listen back to the recording, the guitar was snappier and brighter. The fingerboard material matters from a sound perspective, but also from a feel perspective. I agree with David in the chat. The Palfero, it felt, every Palfero fretboard I have played feels dry and it feels scratchy. I don't know if it's the grain. It has a wider grain pattern or something than Rosewood does, but it doesn't feel good under your fingers. And you know what I'm talking about. Like when you're playing the guitar, part of your finger is touching the fretboard, the fingerboard, right? Like, that's why some people don't like finished maple necks for that reason. It's a different feeling. It can have kind of a sticky feeling under your fingers. I like Rosewood. I like the way it feels. I like the way it sounds, and I like the way it looks. So them going back to Rosewood on the neck is a good move, in my opinion. Same nut material. Yeah, so this has a synthetic nut, has a plastic nut, or tusk, maybe whatever you want to call it. I probably would, if I was going to keep this guitar, I would probably put a bone nut on. Yeah, TR Gaming says, I was about to say Palfero feels dry and scratchy compared to Ebony and Rosewood. It does, man. It does. And it doesn't, it always looks dry. It looks like it needs to be oiled. That every Palfero fretboard I've seen, it looks like it needs lemon oil or something. But yeah. So that's Player 2 series. Overall, I think it's great. I also asked Sweetwater, oh, by the way, if you're just joining in live, we are doing 60% off Bare Bones Guitar Theory. This is my video course. It is a 1 hour long course designed to be taken in one sitting, and it is everything you need and nothing you don't for music theory for guitar players. If you're a guitar player who's been wanting to get some theory and harmony knowledge under your belt, this is the course for you. It's not super long. It's designed to be very digestible, something you can go back and revisit over and over again. It's only an hour long, and we're doing 60% off if you follow the link in the chat or the link in the description. So thank you for that. Is the neck sticky? No, that's another thing I like. It's a satin finish neck. Now it is a poly finish on the body and on the neck, but it's satin, which I really like, because I can't stand glossy poly necks. They just don't feel good. What am I sipping on? I have got a little Old Granddad bottled in bond. This is one of those if you know type situations here. Old Granddad bonded. A bit hard to find around these parts these days. I think the word has gotten out on Old Granddad bonded. Is there a change in volume when you switch positions? No. Man, that's great. All right, let's talk about the Pro 2 here. First of all, this might be my favorite color Strat. And it's a nice homage to my good friend Tyler Bryant and his pink Strat. But yeah, shell pink on a Strat, you really can't go wrong with. Let's see if this is in tune. Bets anyone on this, if this is in tune? Kinda. Might be close enough for government work, but. We'll tune it up. Man. So you see, Joy Buzzer says, 8 years ago, I saw boutique builders selling Palfero as an upgrade. You know, and I have seen that too. I have seen people claim that Palfero is a premium wood. I'm sure it is. You know, I don't know much about the species of the wood. I'm just saying, to me, when it's used in place of rosewood on a guitar like a Stratocaster, it feels cheap. it feels out of place. Okay, so this is the American Pro 2. This is a Sweetwater spec American Pro 2, which when I was looking on their website the other day, I was very curious about. They've done a few changes here. So for Sweetwater, they spec'd a higher spec tremolo system. So they've gone to the 6-point tremolo with the cold rolled steel sustain block in the back. Really nice setup there. And they've also put a push pot here in the bridge tone position, which engages the neck pickup no matter where you are in the pickup configuration. Now, this is a mod that you can do to any Strat or any Strat style guitar. It's a cool mod. I actually think it's pretty useful because, for example, here in the bridge position, I can bring in the neck, which is not a pickup selection you can get on a normally wired Strat. I think that's a great sound. But if you go to position 2 here, you can actually go from bridge and middle to all 3 pickups, which is another cool sound. Not something I would probably use a whole lot, but it's cool. It's cool. Now, this guitar has probably my favorite Fender pickups in it. These are the custom shop Fat 60s. Actually, let's see here. I can show you. So this is what we're looking at here. $2,000 for this guitar. Yeah, Fender American Professional GT11 3 custom shop Fat 60s pickups. I think these pickups sound phenomenal. So I think for me, this is the biggest difference over the over the Player 2 is the pickups. These pickups sound considerably better than the Mexican. Here's the middle position. Not Gavin Fox says, if you were in my position and buying from a minimum wage pay, would you get the Pro 2 or the Player 2? Okay, that's a really good question. Put a pin in that for just a second. So, neck pickup. These pickups sound really good. Middle. Two. These pickups just sound really good, man. This also has, I was talking about this a second ago, the little spring under the tremolo arm, when you screw the tremolo arm down into the tremolo, this doesn't have any play in it whatsoever. It's a subtle thing, but it matters. When you're trying to do these really subtle... David Beebe, what's up, man? This is a great guitar. This is a really, really great guitar. Okay, so which one should you get from a budget perspective? Now, previously, if we were talking about the American Pro 2 versus the Player 1, it would be no contest. I would tell you, save up the extra money, sell some other gear, sell whatever to get the American Pro 2 because it is a night and day difference, upgrade in every single way over the Player series. But now, honestly, these two guitars are matched much more closely than they were before. This retails for $799. The Player 2 is going for $799. This is $2,000. To me, again, I've only had them for a day. This is kind of a first look sort of thing. I got both of these guitars in the mail yesterday, so I'm still kind of getting to know both of them. But if it were me, is there a $1,200 difference in these guitars as they sit out of the box? No, not anymore. The Mexican build quality, the finish work, the fretwork, the rolled fingerboard edges, this guitar feels much closer to the American Pro 2 out of the box, with the main difference being the pickups. These pickups really leave a lot to be desired, but the good news is that's one of the first and easiest upgrades you can do to any guitar. You put a good set of pickups into this guitar, and I think you've got a ringer on your hands, man. It really doesn't need anything else. I mean, maybe a bone nut, you know, if you really wanted to get nerdy, you could talk about swapping some electronics, maybe upgrading some pots, but you're really kind of getting into the law of diminishing returns there. I mean, just put a good set of pickups into this thing, and for, you know, if you put a $200 set of pickups in it for $1,000, you've got a killer Strat. Whereas for $2,000, you're getting a slightly nicer guitar. The build quality here is a little bit better. I mean, it does feel slightly more premium in a few areas, but it's like, does that matter to you? And that's subjective. So the Pro 2, you know, you've got the contoured heel, which to me is not that big of a deal. I'm not, you know, this isn't a huge selling point for me. If it is for you, that's cool. You know, it does feel nice when you're up here in these higher registers, the higher parts of the neck, you know, the heel doesn't really get in your way. That's never been a huge thing for me. The neck shape on both of these guitars, for me personally, is a little too thin. I'm not a huge fan of either one of the neck shapes, but they still feel nice, and that's a subjective thing. Danny Lorena, thanks for Top Chat. Appreciate it, man. Have to agree, sometimes it pays off to save for the piece of gear you want and not get other models in between. You spend more upfront initially, but you save cash in the long term. Okay, I completely agree with this. It's the buy once, cry once mentality. I completely agree in most cases. That's why before I would have said, yes, save up the money, get the American Pro 2 or whatever that, you know, American Vintage, whatever that higher spec American version is, rather than saving the money and getting the Player 1 series. Now, though, the Player 2 series is damn good. It's damn good. Is it $1,200? Is this guitar $1,200 better out of the box? I don't really think so, man. I really don't think so. This has the bone nut. This has slightly better tuners on it. This has a slightly better bridge. I do think this bridge is a solid upgrade over the other one, but again, that's something you can change if you want to. The biggest difference here is the pickups. These pickups sound phenomenal. Like, really good. Let's get some 80s, some vibe going here. Let me see. Let's turn on the got a little delay going, a little stereo. That delay's a little too much. this other delay as I have? Maybe I'll just split the difference on that first delay because it sounded nice. It was just too much. Okay, so this part, this is one of those things about guitar, man. I was playing this part wrong for years, but it's almost like there's not a wrong way to play it. There's the way David plays it, which is this, right? It's this voicing. But you can voice it here, right? Sounds basically the same. Or you can do it that way. Or you can do it that way. It wasn't until I watched, have you seen that YouTube video of him sitting in his studio, his houseboat studio in front of the console, and he's just kind of playing it? And this is a few years ago, and I rewatched the video again today, but I remembered myself a few years ago watching it, and he's kind of just, he's got his black Strat, and he's just sort of playing around. He's up here, and he's like, and I paused it, and I went, wait a second, why is he playing up there? I've never played in that register. I'm always down here. And sure enough, if you go back and listen, it's that open E string that he's hitting. He's not hitting the E here on the second string. It's this open E. And it's a subtle thing, but once you go back and listen to the record, you can totally hear that it's this voicing. But I never heard that. When I was a kid and learning this part, I heard it as like that. But it's not. He's going wild. It's part of what makes guitar hard. Guitar's hard. It is not an easy instrument to play. See, to be honest, if I was looking for a budget Fender Strat, I'd be looking at used Mexican Strats from the late 90s and early 2000s. Well, the reality is, man, some of those Mexican Strats, like some of the early Road Worn series and some of the, the prime era Mexican Strats have held their value to the point where, like, you might not be spending that much less to get a used Mexican Strat versus what you can get new, which is kind of a testament to the Mexican line of guitars. I mean, they've got a great following for a reason. Scott says, I've had so many great Mexican Strats from the 90s and 2000s for many years. I was happy with those and didn't care if I ever made it to an American. And honestly, I agree with you. Because of the way Fenders are built, every Fender is in many ways kind of a parts caster, right? It goes back to Leo's original design. His ethos was, when a player would, when it was time for a neck, to be refretted, Leo's original idea was that you would just buy a new neck. He would go and sell you a new neck for your Telecaster or your Stratocaster, and you would bolt it on. The idea of refretting a neck was not something he thought was viable. The modularity of these guitars is part of what makes them great, but it also means that every guitar is in many ways kind of a parts caster, right? Like they're building these necks and these bodies and these parts in different parts of the factory in different areas, and they're bringing them all together, which is slightly different than something like a Gibson, right? Where a Gibson, the neck and the body are joined at a much earlier point in the production process, and then they're finished together, right? You kind of get a whole guitar together a little bit earlier on. Gibsons are harder to manufacture. They're harder to build, which is part of why they're more expensive. And with Fenders, it really, to me, comes down to a couple things. The weight of the guitar overall, which is true for every guitar. I like lightweight guitars. typically, not always, I find that the lighter the guitar is, the better it sounds overall. The more resonant it is, the better sustain it has, the better it feels to play, and the less taxing it is to play long term. But yeah, the cool thing about just the basic design of a Fender is that you can get an equally good guitar in terms of two different strats. Like, this is a good example. These guitars are separated by quite a bit of money in price, but in terms of their playability and their feel, they are very, very close together. Now, the sound is different. That's down to the pickups, but they're made from the same stuff, man. It's, you know, slightly different materials. Sure, there's slightly higher quality materials here in parts of the American versus the Mexican, but really, like, for all intents and purposes, they're two sides of the same coin. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with buying a Mexican Fender and not wanting or needing to upgrade to an American. Now, where you really start to notice the difference is when you go into custom shop. And as you start to step up into custom shop, that's where, in my opinion, you're really starting to step into a more premium experience. But the jump in cost there is significant. I mean, the custom shop stuff for Fender and Gibson and anybody, it is not cheap. But yeah. Gibson is expensive because they can. Man, I'm telling you, I've been to the Gibson factory. I have seen what it takes to build those guitars. There is flat out, there is more work that goes into building a Gibson than there is a Fender. Just the fact that Gibsons have binding and Fenders don't. Like, it costs more money to build a Gibson or a Gibson style guitar than it does a Fender style guitar. Just in the fact that one is a bolt-on neck versus a set neck or neck through. Like, they're just more expensive to manufacture. And again, that goes back to the basic design of the guitar, right? It's not like Ted McCarty or Leo Fender were designing these things with the intention of one being more expensive than the other. They were just different approaches. You know, Leo's thing was about modularity, and he was notoriously cheap, right? That's why vintage Fender amps, if you ever have played like early to mid 60s black panel deluxes, for example, I've played a number of those amps over the years. Every single one of them sounds different. Some sound way better than others, but the reason they sound so different is because when those amps were built, the parts that Leo and Fender and company were ordering, they were just getting their hands on like the cheapest components they could, and the tolerances in the resistors and the capacitors that were going into those boards were plus or minus like 20%, meaning you could have values of caps that swayed one way or another 20%, and that has an effect, especially over a cumulative effect over the course of a circuit of an amplifier. And what that means is deluxes or Princetons or twins of that era or super reverbs of that era, they sound different because Leo was cheap and he was buying cheap components to put into his stuff. And there's some charm in that now. It's kind of like part of the lore, part of the ethos, right? Like, you have to find a good one or you have to find one that speaks to you. I've been that way with super reverbs. I've been looking for sort of my super reverb for a while. Those of you who know Dylan Adams, the great slide guitar player, good friend of mine, Dylan has an amazing super reverb. I'm very jealous. If he ever decides to sell it, I am going to be first in line to buy his super. His is a silver panel. He had it up here a few weeks ago when he was here, and it's modded. So it's I think it's a 68 silver panel super that he's modded. He's black paneled it and swapped some speakers and done some stuff, but God, it sounds good, man. It sounds really, really good. But yeah, like the idea that Gibson is more expensive because they can, or because they're a brand for lawyers or boomers or whatever the narrative is just, dude, they're more expensive because they cost way more to manufacture. There's more work that goes into making a Gibson than there is in a Fender. It just is. It's just more complicated to build a Les Paul than a Stratocaster. Let's see here. Quincy says, I kind of agree, but Gibson is trying to get every penny out of your wallet while Fender is doing okay. Dude, if you if you think that every company's not trying to get every penny out of your wallet, like these companies are in business to make money. And both of these companies are big corporations. Like they're big corporations that are in the business of making money. Yeah, that's funny to me. 40 watt, what's up, man? You have a 1970 Super Reverb that I've converted to black panel spec original CTS speakers. It's amazing. Dude, Super Reverbs are special. They are very, very special. Matty K, what's up, man? I have a Wildwood spec Murphy Lab R8. It's a literal functional piece of functional art. I've played a few of the Murphy Labs over the years, and I really like them. I think they're great guitars. God, these pickups sound good. Holy shit. I might would put these in. These are the custom shop. I'm pretty sure you can buy these. Let's see if you can just buy these. Let's see. So these are the, what were these again? The Fat 60s, custom shop Fat 60s pickups. How much are these pickups? Because dude, if you can get these for a couple $100, custom shop 60s. Oh yeah, dude. Available soon. Okay, here's what you do. You get the Player 2 and you spend the $200 and you put, this is what I would do. You can do whatever the hell you want. What I would do, I would save the $1,200, even though this is a great guitar. I would save the $1,200. I'd buy the Mexican Player 2. I'd take $200 of that money that I'd save, and I'd spend that on these custom shop Fat 60s, or a set of Lawlers. I mean, there's a number of great Strat pickup makers out there now. I mean, there is no shortage of choice when it comes to Strat pickups. And dude, just upgrade the pickups. I will say though, man, I've played a lot of Strats over the years. These, the Fat 60s that are in this American Pro 2 are genuinely some of my favorite Strat pickups I've ever played. If you're just joining us, thanks for hanging out. I am running a sale on the Bare Bones Guitar Theory course. This is a video course that is an hour long. It's designed to be quick and digestible. And it's designed to teach you everything you need and nothing you don't about music theory for guitar players. You can get 60% off that course. Follow the link in the chat or link in the description. Great way to support the channel if you like what I'm doing here. So yeah. Let's see. Mark T says spend $1,200 towards a great amp. I completely agree. Completely agree. If you are in the cheap guitar versus expensive amp or vice versa conversation, I am very much of the mind cheap guitar, great amp is going to give you better results every single time. My friend Zach from Mythos does not agree with me, but that's okay. He's wrong. He can be wrong. We can all be wrong from time to time. Let's see here. Chase B. Will says, if the Player 2 pickups are just all right, what makes a set of pickups like the ones in the Sweetwater Pro great? Okay, that's a really good question. So what do I listen for in a set of pickups? Well, let me tell you what I don't like about these Player 2 pickups. They don't sound bad. These are not bad pickups, okay? But to me, they're a little narrow in the frequency response. Let me take all the reverb and shit off. So this is the middle pickup. What I'm hearing right now is not a lot of low end, right? Like it seems to, like the low end is falling off a little sooner than I want. And they're not very articulate. There's not a ton of high end either. They're just sort of like, if you picture a, you know, like an EQ, like a frequency spectrum on like a graphic EQ. It's like there's a high pass and a low pass filter set, and the band is set a little too narrow for me with these pickups. With a Strat, like especially a Strat neck pickup, I want to hear some brightness, some top end articulation, and I've got a little bit of it here. But there's not enough. Same thing with the bridge. Like if anything, this bridge is a little dark, which typically I would never say for a Strat pickup. Doesn't sound bad, but when you compare that to there's more information here. It's like you took that high and low pass filter and you just widened the curve out here. So there's more low end, there's more high end. There's a nice bump. We go back to the middle position here. There's a nice like low mid sort of kick. It's almost like it's around like, I mean, you hear that? I don't know if it's coming across in the video. I'm hearing it in my headphones. But there's a low end sort of thump happening, which might be why they call these the fat 60s single coils, because they do have this nice low kick to them, especially on the bridge. Matty K's, yeah, almost decompressed. That's a really good way to describe what I'm hearing too. It's they're less compressed. There's just more information here. A little sweeter sounding. I'm hearing more of my pick on the strings. That's another thing to listen for. Like, can you hear the pick articulation? And this is totally subjective, by the way. This is just what I'm looking for in a guitar sound like this. You could look for something completely different. That's totally cool. But to me, these pickups are more expressive. They're more sensitive to what I'm doing, right? Like I can get different sounds out of this guitar a little easier depending on how I'm playing it or what I'm choosing to play or where I'm choosing to play, because the pickups are more sensitive compared to the Alnico 5 pickups on this player 2. And that's something I look for in a guitar. Like the difference in sound between picking back here, and again, I'm on the neck position here, so. Versus picking up here. It's just more well balanced, and there's a bigger difference in that sound than these pickups here. Try my best to play like exactly what I just played, but. So immediately you notice there's way less low end here. But there's less high end too. It's not as articulate. Versus up here. They're not as sensitive. They feel a little more compressed. They're not as sparkly. There's not as much low end. They're not as fat sounding as the custom shop ones. But you may like these pickups better. I mean, that's totally subjective, man. That's what's cool about this stuff. And if you've never changed pickups on a guitar, I would highly encourage you to do it. It's a lot of fun. You know, keep your stock pickups, but go order a set, you know, try something else out. See what you like. See, now Kevin Fox, I'm gonna order the Player 2 once they go on sale. Can you play some Red Hot Chili Peppers on the Player 2? Can I play any Red... I don't think I know any Red Hot Chili Peppers riffs. Kind of a bummer, but no, I don't think I can play any. No, I don't think I know any Red Hot Chili Peppers. What do I think about HSS Strat setups? I'm not a fan of HSS Strats. Part of it is just, I admit it's a dumb reason. I think they look bad. I just think humbucker Strats just don't look right. I can't get past, it's just, they don't look good to me. And then also there's the issue of the 500K versus 200K pot thing. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of HSS Strats. I've never played an HSS Strat that I dug, that I liked. Don't play Red Hot, they suck. Yeah, man. God, these pickups sound really good. Play some Hendrix, some of his clean stuff. Okay. And one of my go-to Strat riffs is always it's my favorite Jimi Hendrix song. What a great riff, dude. Come on. That inversion thing. Oh. God. Or Angel. See what it sounds like with this 80s kind of chorusy thing going on here. How does it go? That delay is hilarious. Hold on. Let me fix that delay. That's too not the right sound. Yeah. Something like this maybe? This is like if Angel was written in 1983. Although if it was 83, this might have been a stereo delay. So let's try. Maybe we'll say 85. Let's change this to let's see. What do we think? Plex detune? No. Ambient depths. I just need like a 2290. That's just give me like a really nice digital Econo shimmer. Hold on. Are we about to like insult the memory of Jimi Hendrix here? Wolfgang in the top chat. Thanks, man. Just got a Pro 2, but with the standard set of pickups, VMod 2. Nice. How do you like them? Okay, no, that's terrible. That is... We're not going to do that. How about Akano Shimmer 2? Let's see what this sounds like. Oh my god, that's terrible. That sucks. Okay. Why is this so hard? I just want to find... What does ambient depth sound like? Ooh, okay. Maybe we should turn this into a series. If riffs were written in different times, different decades. So this is like if Angel was written in 1984. You definitely have a stereo chorus on. You'd have some kind of delay, but I don't think this is the right... Maddie says Jimmy's spinning in his grave, and I'm so here for it. I don't know, man. I think if Jimmy would have lived through the 80s, he probably would have leaned pretty hard into some of these sounds, you know? I mean, I'm almost sure of it, because look at what he was doing in the 60s. With the fuzz and with everything else. I mean, he was no stranger to pushing the envelopes. Oh, stereo tape. Okay, here we go. This is what I want. Digital stereo. All right, but I need more spread. We need some like real, maybe a ping pong. Here we go. Or stereo bucket brigade. There we go. Okay. All right, now let's turn the feedback up a little bit. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. Angel, written in 1984, recorded in 1984. RJ still in the chat? If RJ Rankilio is still here, let me know how I'm doing. I feel like he'd be pretty proud. You know? I feel like this is right up RJ's wheelhouse. I mean, that doesn't suck, though. That sound is not bad, you know? David says too much delay in the mix. All right, let's bring the mix down. Bring the mix down here. I mean, it's a little hot. I'll give it to you, David. It's a little hot. But okay, for real though, this Angel, talk about one of the greatest riffs ever written, or the greatest intros ever written. Like, it's just brilliant. Fender Bender says, what are my thoughts on Virgil Arlo pickups? I've never played Virgil Arlo pickups before. I'd love to check them out, though. Chase, good call. All you need is a DX7. You're right. I need a DX7 pad behind this. And then we've got Angel circa 1980. What year did the DX7 come out? Was that 83? Someone check me. I'm going to guess Yamaha DX7. I've been getting more into synthesizers recently, okay? So I'm getting into my synth era. 83? Was it? I'm going to say 83. 82. Damn. I mean, you got to give it to me. I was only a year off. Right? Or wait, somebody says 84. No, let's Yamaha DX7. Let's go to the Wikipedia. Oh, here we go. Synthesizer history. Let's see here. Oh my God, this is too much to read. Wiki says 83. Yeah, okay, so I was right. 83 to 89. Come on, y'all. Korg was 84. The arrival of the DX7. The Roland Jupiter 8 was released in 81. Oh my God. Oh, here we go. Dude, DX7 was produced from 83 to 86. Come on now. So that would be right in line. If we're talking Angel recorded in 84, there totally would have been a DX7 on there. Maybe a Lindrum, you know? Or maybe it would have been an 808, because the 808 the 808 came out in 79 or 80, or it might have been a 909 by then. It would have been Jimmy in the studio. There'd be a DX7 and a 909, or there'd be a ton of gated reverb on the snare drum. We're having fun. Don't forget, if you're just joining us, quick plug for my course. We're doing 60% off Bare Bones Guitar Theory. This is a 60-minute guitar course designed to teach you everything you need to know and nothing you don't about music theory for guitar players. You can get 60% off via the link in the chat or in the description. Great way to support the channel if you like what I'm doing here. And yeah, I'm excited to be back on the live stream, man. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. I want to start doing these more regularly, like I used to way back in the day. Some people here, I recognize some of these usernames. I used to, like, God, 5 years ago, I used to come on and do live streams like at least once a week. And I want to get back to that. I miss those days. Let's see here. Are there any combo amps that already have an Alnico Celestion speaker in it? Yes. I think some of the Morgan combos come with an Alnico Blue. I think you can get, is it the Vox Handwired comes with a Alnico Blue as well, or a pair of Alnico Blues? Music Master says, yeah, the 909 would come out in 83 and the 808 in 80. Okay, so it would have been a 909. Which amp is Jimmy using in 84? Ooh. Yeah, man, he might have been using an 800, maybe a JCM 800. Or he would have been using one of those twins, or a pair of those twins with the JBLs in it. Yeah. Or maybe he would have been using one of those. When did those red knob twins come out? Those Fender red knob, you know what I'm talking about? Those weird, what are those called? Yeah, here we go. This thing, an 88 Fender Twin Reverb, the Twin, 100 watts. I can just tell by looking at this thing, this is the loudest amp ever made on Earth. You can't tell me that there's a louder amp out here. Because twin reverbs Twin reverbs on their own are already painfully loud, but you make 100 watt the twin. First of all, look at these switches. When you've got the stereo, like the hi-fi stereo rocker switch. Oh man, reverb select. This was a weird time for Fender. This would have been 88. Is this Rivera era? Because I know Paul Rivera was doing amps for Fender for a while. Man, let's see. This is on Sweetwater's used gear exchange here. $425. Somebody go get this amp. As long as you have some acreage, you know, you shouldn't have neighbors. But if you got some land, you got some space. Look, you've got an effects loop. Okay. Got a foot switch. You got the original speakers. I mean, this amp. What's with these inputs? Use inputs to both channel 1 and channel 2 for dual channel mode. Has anybody in the chat, has anybody ever owned one of these things? These weird red knob 80s. Say Rivera was 82 to 85. Okay, so this is post Rivera era Fender. Keith says Rivera was there for the last point-to-point tube series. Yeah, so this is a weird time for Fender. This late 80s thing, the red knob era. This is like, and it's got the wheels, the caster. Dude, how much does this amp weigh? 80 pounds. Yeah, here you go. This amp weighs over 80 pounds. Dude. Wow. 425. I don't know. Doesn't seem that bad. This might be one of those things that, you know, you never know with this type of stuff. This could be one of those things where some artist, Mac DeMarco or somebody, uses one of these in a song or whatever, and Reddit picks it up and they run with it, and then all of a sudden there's a run on these, or Josh Scott makes a video about them, and you know, oh, the red knob twins, like these are secretly the best twins that ever. You got to get the 100 watts that have the stock. What are these Jensens? These massive magnet speakers in the back. Yeah, it's like, this is one of those things where it's like a sleeper piece of gear right now that no one cares about because it's kind of ugly. It's of a weird time frame, and then somebody out there is going to do something cool with this amp, and then people are going to freak out and want them. This is how this stuff goes. Nobody talks about this stuff. Nobody cares. This amp's $425, you know, and then somebody cool is going to make something cool using this thing, and then they're gonna shoot up in value. So there you go. Hauling a dead body around the game. Oh man. Whoever's selling it should double the price ASAP. I don't want that amp. That is not my type of amp right there. I don't like twins. I've never liked twin reverbs. They're just not my thing. And especially that late 80s era of twin, 100 watt twin. No way, man. No way. Not for me. Yeah, okay, Chase B. Will, someone like McGee. Yeah, McGee would use something like that. And then all of a sudden, people like me would see it and then freak out and be like, God, I gotta have one. I'm totally a sucker for that stuff. I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm totally a sucker for it. If I see someone cool, like, dude, I have a Tascam 388 because Mac DeMarco uses one, and the Black Keys used one. Like, I'm totally a sucker for, if someone cool made something that I really like using a piece of gear, I am all about trying to get my hands on that piece of gear. Let's see. Keith says, Rhett, there's an opinion by real amp techs who think that the red knob Fenders can be a service nightmare. I don't disagree with that. I bet the inside of that is a printed circuit board from hell. And if something goes wrong on that board, good luck. They're like Mesas. It's got to be like an old Mesa. Just a nightmare to work on. ask Josh to feature it, Mark. Yeah, I'd buy it first and then this would be like the guitar YouTuber equivalent of insider trading. Is I'll buy a piece of gear and then ask Josh to make a video about it, so it drives the price up on it. And then end up like Martha Stewart and have to go to like guitar YouTuber jail. But it's like a nice jail. It's like a nice, you know, like I could play pickleball at this jail. Fender Bender asks, what are my thoughts on Chris Buck? I love Chris. Chris is a friend of mine. He's unbelievable guitar player. Just truly unbelievable player. David SJ, is there anything happening on the Good Trouble front? Tour, music, anything? Yes, there is. So we're in the process of, basically we're going to make a record. That's the plan. We're going to go in and make a record. And we haven't gotten too deep into the process yet, so I'm not going to share a whole lot. But the idea is we want to make a new full length and release that and get that out into the world and hopefully tour it and do all kinds of stuff. And also on that front, I actually just finished my first EP. The mixes are going off for mastering, or went off for mastering this week. Very excited about it. Something I've been working on for a really long time and wanting to do for a really long time. So I will have more details coming. I've got to figure out how to, like, I've made the music, I've made the EP. Now I got to figure out what the hell to do with it, how to actually release the music and do it right and promote it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. When is it coming out? I'm hoping the EP will drop sometime in the fall, early to mid fall, but I will have more information on that very, very soon. Grungy Chris, what is my overdrive pedal of choice these days? You know, I'm actually not using overdrive much these days. Most of the time, I'm getting my overdrive from the amp. So for example, with Good Trouble, we played a show a few weeks ago in Dalton, Georgia. And for that show, I played the new, the Friedman 50, the Plex 50, unbelievable amp. That amp kicks ass. It is so good. And I really didn't use overdrive with it at all. I just dialed the amp in to the level of drive and gain that I wanted. And then I used the volume knob on the guitar to clean up. I had a fuzz in front of it and a boost. If I wanted to get a little more saturation and sustain or compression out of it, I'd hit it with the boost. And then the fuzz, of course, because fuzz is the shit. I use fuzz with everything. But yeah, I'm actually not really using that much overdrive these days. I'm playing more amps that are capable of drive on their own and then hitting them with fuzz and or a boost. Mark, what's up, man? Live premiere at Big Sugar. That'd be awesome. D-Day, big fan of your courses, Red. I appreciate that, man. Taking a handful, and they're all all very good. I appreciate that. And yeah, if you want to get 60% off the Bare Bones Guitar Theory course, check out the link in the description or in the chat. Wolfgang in the top chat. Can you talk about the blue Strat you have leaning against the couch? It's been catching my eye. I was waiting for someone to bring this up. Okay, it's not a Strat. This is something I bought. I actually have a video about this dropping. It was supposed to drop today, but I changed my mind. I might put it out this weekend. I bought this last week. I think this is the most underrated Fender ever, and I think it's one of the most underrated guitars ever. This is not sponsored or anything. I bought this. It's a used Fender from 2005, made in Japan. Bought this from Atlanta Discount Music 2 weeks ago. It's, yeah. Okay. I think this is the Fender that everyone is sleeping on still, and it's the Mustang. This is a 2005 MIJ Mustang. I bought used here in Atlanta from Atlanta Discount Music a week ago. It was on consignment. I paid $1,100 for it. It's awesome. This guitar is so good. Let me see if I've got a... No. Okay. Dude. Okay. So this was just hanging on the wall at Atlanta Discount. And this is one of those things that I've kind of been in the back of my mind looking for, like, man, I'd like to get my hands on a Mustang. And it was there, and it was the right price. So again, 2005, made in Japan. So let's see if you can see that on the back of the neck there. Crafted in Japan. Dude, this guitar is so good. So it doesn't have the tremolo arm, but I'm actually kind of glad that it doesn't, because it led me to discover this really sort of cool little trick about it. But yeah, if you're not familiar with the Mustang, it's a short scale. It's 24-inch scale on this, and a pretty narrow nut. So what's cool about it is, because it's a shorter guitar, it's a more compact guitar, it's really comfortable to play. And the string tension feels, it's not very Fendery. Like it's got a really loose string tension, almost like a Gibson. But the pickups are part of what make it so special. So they're just regular single coils, as far as I can tell. You know, they got different covers on them, but the way they're angled and where they sit in relation to the bridge and the neck make where they sit in relation to the bridge and the neck make them sound different than a Strat or a Tele. This guitar does not sound like a Strat. It does not sound like a Tele. It's got its own sort of thing going on. Like, that's just the bridge by itself. That doesn't sound like a Strat. Let me tune it real quick. It's close, but it's not quite there. Okay, there's the bridge. Here's the neck. Here's both in series. That's a great sound. But what's cool is, because each pickup has its own three-way toggle switch, you can put the pickups out of phase, and now you've got this. Dude, this guitar is so cool. The thing I like to do, though, you know, so this is a tremolo. This is a really unique sounding or feeling tremolo system. Normally it has a bar, it looks like a Strat bar on it. This one doesn't have it. But what I was noticing was, when I would get it home, you know, when I got it home, my initial reaction is to rest my hand here on the bridge. That's normally where I play. And what you can do is you can kind of get this almost like lo-fi warped to vinyl kind of sound out of it. Check this out. So if I'm playing, right, and I just rest my hand on the tailpiece back here, which is the tremolo, listen to this. I can go. I can get a warped vinyl sound out of it. If I put some, let me kill the chorus on this. So I've just got some delay and reverb. Listen to this sound. Isn't that cool? Like, you just kind of move your hand back and forth a little bit on the tremolo, and it sounds like warped vinyl. Oh, dude, this little guitar is so sick. Pickups are pretty low output, which is nice. Like, they've got this nice kind of, like if I put a compressor on the front here, I've got this cool, that's the neck pickup. Here's the bridge. And again, the out of phase thing is so cool. This is actually something that no other guitar that I have will do. I don't have any other guitar that'll do the out of phase thing. It's just fun, man. It's just really fun. So, yeah. Glad I found this little thing. It's one of those nice little character guitars to have around. Yeah, so that's my my latest guitar purchase, the little Mustang, and it just looks awesome too. And I actually just bought a bass recently that is very, very similar to this. I haven't shown this on the channel yet, but I bought this a few months ago actually. It's a Shabbat. This is the Bobcat. So it's basically Shabbat's version of the Mustang bass, but this one has a Thunderbird pickup in it. This bass is insane. The story behind this is at NAMM this year, I went to the Shabbat booth to say hello to Avi and the guys down there, and this was my favorite thing that I played at NAMM, at the whole NAMM show. He had one, and it was his, and I tried to buy it from him at the show, and he wouldn't sell it to me because it was his bass, and so I put an order in for it, and it finally showed up about a month ago. So, yeah, Shabbat Bobcat. I bought this. It's not sponsored or anything like that, but it's a ripper, man. That Thunderbird pickup, it has some monster low end, and it's a short scale, which is cool. Being a guitar player, this feels a little bit more at home for me than my P bass does. And I've got some flat wounds for it. I bought some Labella flats to go on it. Yeah. So there you go. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight's stream, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. It's been a fun Friday evening hang. Hope you enjoyed the first look at the Player 2 series Strat. Like I said, I've got a full video on that coming here on the channel very soon. Yeah, once again, if you want to support the channel, you like what I do here, check out the Bare Bones Guitar Theory course for 60% off. Link is in the description and link is in the chat. It's an hour-long guitar course designed to get you up to speed on guitar theory, music theory for guitar players, everything you need, nothing you don't. It's a great course. I had a lot of fun making it. And yeah, I'm excited to get back to doing these live streams more regularly. So appreciate everyone hanging out here in the comments. And if you've watched the replay this far, you're a hero. Thank you. And yeah, appreciate it. We will see you guys real soon. Peace.